Aloha, welcome to Live Yoga Channel. I'm Tara, the metabolic therapist, and we meet live here on Wellness Wednesdays for the Trust Your Gut Club. So today I'd love to chat about all things yoga for the organs. And so if this is your first time here, feel free to write some questions, maybe some things that are up for you. I'm happy to talk about anything. And perhaps together we can create some inner awareness and motivation to take action for change and to help you feel better and best in your beautiful body. So today what I'd love to talk about is Candida and yeast overgrowth. It's a fungal issue. And, oftentimes on the feminine side, there's a lot of yeast and let's kill it off and, die. And, there's terrible projections around it. However, Candida, at its core, it's designed, we're supposed to have Candida living within us throughout our life because it helps while we're growing, but it also is designed to help our body decompose when we die. And although this is, feels kind of morbid, when I came to understand around Candida and its role in the body, it's not necessary for me to kill it off, fight that fungal infection. However, what I can do is learn to work with it so that when my body flares up, and that can show up as yeast infections, which, women may be more in tune with, but men too, they may have smelly breath or itchy feet or belly button or different things per person on how a Candida overgrowth or flare up can show up. So today, what I'd love to chat about is this idea of let's be friendly, not out to attack and kill the bacteria and fungus that lives within us. And how I'd like to approach this today with you is there's a value in the yogic tradition called Ahimsa, and it refers to nonviolence. And this is nonviolence to self and all living things. So when we apply Ahimsa to our inner terrain, what we can do is then have a perspective, perhaps a lifted up perspective, that this beautiful body, this beautiful organism is unique. And my inner aquarium, because my skin keeps all of my fluids and bones and muscles and fascia and all the tissues composed in one area. However, I have a history. I have a history of medications, pesticides, where I grew up, how, what kind of viruses and bacteria I've taken on throughout my beautiful life, and then how that responds and reacts to my stress, sleep, hormones, and so much more. So this is all happening inside of me. And for me to say that what works exactly for me is exact for you, we know better than that. Or I've learned better than that. So what I've learned to do, though, is respond to my body as she flares up in various times, in various seasons, in different chapters. Again, like I said a couple moments ago, understanding my own cycle, and then where my cravings increase, and then also in that, how that impacts how I feel bloated or restless or restful, So all these beautiful variables that are unique to each of us at different times during the month or years. So growing more intimate with our body's cues and responses to not only foods, but stress and sleep. It's one of the most vital communications that we can grow. And, as often, especially when I chat with my girlfriends, people wanting that perfect partner, perfect beloved. And I love the idea of intimacy, as we crave it outside of us. Intimacy, when we break it down, it's into me I see. And perhaps the idea that we reflect ourselves and our working spots and our relationships and in our world around us, we can take some of that energy and focus it within and into me I see. Let me listen and learn from my body during the various times. Again, I, as a woman, I practice cyclical awareness, for my monthly cycle. But I'm also starting to understand more and more around the seasons. Now, here in Hawaii, we kind of have two seasons, the wet season and the dry season. And often in other parts of the world, there are 4 seasons. And how does our body respond? Similar to nature, the growth and blossoming, and then the decomposing and renewal. What do those cycles look like, short term and then even long term? And how might we apply that to our body's beautiful wisdom? So if you're just tuning in now and you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat box. I do my best to keep privacy, but happy to talk story with you around all things digestive health and wellness. So today, with this idea around Candida, I want to shift our mental state so that we're not mad and trying to fight bacteria within us or fungus within us. Let's work with and then acknowledge how we can best tend to our Candida for optimal expression. And what this looks like is that, when we feel fatigued or super bloated, or, that even Candida overgrowth can cause all sorts of mental issues, the gut-brain connection. And often when there's Candida overgrowth within our digestive tract, it shows up in our blood, in our brain, and it can very much cause foggy thinking, fatigue, moodiness, and more. However, have you ever taken, just a one-day break from, some of the sugary foods, refined snacks, or, just skip a meal and have some soup instead? My favorite is bone broth, or a fatty drink of your choice. We have lots of different videos that talk about different ways to do a revised fasting day to where you're on liquids and you're definitely taking in calories so that there's feelings of nourishment, so that we're not doing what's called a spiritual fast, or just a water fast, to where we feel like we have to stay in bed to get through the day. I really love to incorporate days of liquid nutrition so that it's easy and restful on my entire digestive tract, and it gives the body a chance to replenish itself, as well as level off the growth of bacteria. So one way is to, I hear lots of people say oh, I'm addicted to sugars. And then, what does that really look like in your life? Does that mean you're eating a lot of, bagged potato chips, which are sugars too, even if they're a salty flavor, but the rancid oils and the refined foods that are in those bags of chips can activate bacteria overgrowth in the body. So what are some ways that we can put some things at bay? And as I mentioned, I love the bone broth, and I also do a fat coffee that's sugar-free, truly sugar-free. I do use stevia. Some people drink their coffee black, but I use some stevia, and that really helps to get a sweet taste without the glucose spikes. So butter, maybe some coconut oil, a little bit of stevia, blend that all together, and it gives some long-lasting, sustainable energy that doesn't spike my glucose, which then keeps me on that craving chain of chasing sweets throughout the day, just to keep my mind steady. So One way is to incorporate liquid nutrition. If you feel like, oh, that was a tough weekend, I went to lots of parties or ate out lots, I need to take a break. By going into an intermittent fast protocol, it can actually, it can be like challenging and stressful. So I don't suggest doing Monday as a fasting day. Because that can be really hard and stressful. But instead, if you've had like one hell of a rager weekend, return to the whole food nutrition. Eat healthy, grounded, whole, simple foods. And then the next day, as your body like re-grounds itself, then possibly the next day, switch to some liquid nutrition throughout, so that you're still getting calories, but what we call this is the body, we're creating a state of autophagy, so that within each cell, the body is still decomposing and detoxing and fixing itself. Oh, as she was designed so beautifully to do. She and he, they. All right, Trust Your Gut Clubbers. I'm super happy to be with you today. Please, if you're watching this replay, leave me a note. Let me know what's of interest to you. Happy to talk story. Today, happy to share around Candida and how when left untreated, and then if we just go to the doctors and they give us one more antifungal pharmaceutical, we're not really getting to the root cause. So the getting to the root cause is coming to honest awareness of our sugar addictions, our insulin responses, and how we are on a crazy train of chasing sugars and what that does to feed and fuel the bacteria that live within us. So let me know if you like this today, if you learned anything. If you have any questions, give me a call. I love to set up complimentary discovery calls so that we can talk about your health goals. And then I can also share with you how I am growing my one-on-one facilitation health coaching practice. And I love this work. It's so fulfilling because we get to dive deep into your world, your body, your needs, and your lifestyle. So have a beautiful day. Thanks for tuning in to Wellness Wednesday. I'm Tara, the metabolic therapist, signing off. Ahui ho. This means until we meet again, friends, have the best day ever. Aloha.